This video will age rather well. Today, we are going to be looking at some data, some facts which, believe it or not, don't care about your feelings. Furthermore, I'll be making some predictions that I very much look forward to revisiting in half a decade or so to see how they've played out. We'll be looking at the accelerating rate of global electric vehicle adoption, and not only that, but the current projections from the world's largest automotive manufacturers as to how many electric vehicles they'll be producing at future points in time. And if we read between the lines, we'll discover that the majority of these companies have formally announced they intend on being bankrupt before the end of the decade. Outside of a very small bubble on the interwebs, there are very few people, very few consumers who have any idea how fast electric vehicle adoption is happening. We are seeing a huge technological shift, a massive, unstoppable disruption, exponentially increasing electric vehicle sales. We've reached a tipping point. Most people seem oblivious to this fact, but a fact it is. I know there's a lot of people who watch this channel who are total data nerds, and if that's you, grab your lube and, wait, I didn't say that. What I meant to say was, I think you will enjoy this video, and for those of you that don't really like data too much, I highly encourage you to bear with me because this is such an important video. The data paints a very clear picture. This video may be the perfect antidote to some of the current fear-induced brain damage sweeping through the minds of some Tesla retail stock investors. Although not all. As we know, you can't fix stupid. Speaking of stupid, I posted another exclusive video to my Twitter subscribers today. Yet another electric vehicle startup on the verge of bankruptcy. One I explicitly called out repeatedly more than 2 years ago. And in addition, I just dropped a near 40-minute video reacting to Elon Musk's interview with Bill Maher. That's available exclusively on Patreon. Check the links in the pinned comment. If you're not on Twitter and Patreon, you're missing out on loads of exclusive content. And just a trigger warning for the exclusive Patreon video, you might get mad. No snowflakes allowed. Let's just leave it at that and get into the video. Global EV Outlook 2023. Electric car sales break new records with momentum expected to continue through 2023 and spoiler alert, momentum will continue through the entire decade. Electric car markets are seeing exponential growth. Oh, surprise, surprise. I didn't see that coming. Who would have seen that coming? Definitely not me. As sales exceeded 10 million in 2022. A total of 14% of all new cars sold were electric in 2022, up from around 9% in 2021 and less than 5% in 2020. But of course, the experts predicting that give or take around 30% of all new vehicles sold in 2030 will be electric are definitely right. There's no way it will be higher than 30%. That would just be unfathomable. So don't be surprised when people are still definitely buying ICE vehicles almost a decade from now. Just for the few people with a broken sarcasm detector, that was sarcasm. The so-called experts expecting anyone to be buying or producing ICE vehicles at the end of this decade will be embarrassingly wrong. 3 markets dominated global sales. China was the front runner once again, accounting for around 60% of global electric car sales. More than half of the electric cars on roads worldwide are now in China. In Europe, the second largest market, electric car sales increased by over 15% in 2022, meaning that more than 1 in every 5 cars sold was electric. Electric car sales in the United States, the third largest market, increased 55% in 2022, reaching a sales share of 8%. Now, quick caveat here, IEA, who've put together this report, are a little bit stupid. Yes, I'm being honest here. Sorry, IEA, it might hurt your feelings, but it's true. They seem to be under the impression that a hybrid is an electric vehicle. It is not. Let me explain. A man who wears lipstick is still a man. Just like an internal combustion engine vehicle that contains a vibrator-sized battery is still an internal combustion engine vehicle. So we'll clarify this a little bit. Just wanted to put that caveat out there now. These figures may be slightly over-representing pure electric vehicle sales, but we'll clarify this in a moment. Electric car sales are expected to continue strongly through 2023. Over 2.3 million electric cars were sold in the first quarter, about 25% more than in the same period last year. We currently expect to see 14 million sales by the end of 2023, representing a 35% year-on-year increase, with new purchases accelerating in the second half of this year. By the way, they're right. As a result, electric cars could account for 18% of total car sales across the full calendar year. This is also true, although just a quick caveat on China in particular, for those who are unaware. The ICE vehicle market is literally imploding. It's a long story. The short version, Communist Party doesn't want ICE vehicles anymore, which means that those who currently produce ICE vehicles are having to sell them for absurdly low prices to try and make some return back on the vehicles they're producing and have already produced. It is quite likely that there'll be a temporary anomaly in Chinese electric vehicle sales. If you can buy an ICE vehicle that previously would have cost, let's just pull an arbitrary number out of my ass, $50,000, but you can buy it for $20,000, and you were previously thinking I might get electric, that ICE vehicle is looking a lot more tantalizing and appealing given the purchase price. So just keep this in mind. I won't be surprised if we do see a blip on the radar in Chinese EV sales. When dirt cheap ICE vehicles are flooding the market, consumer behavior will adjust accordingly. But again, this will be a temporary blip on the radar. Global spending on electric cars exceeded $425 billion in 2022, up 50% relative to 2021. SUVs and large cars dominate available electric car options in 2022. They account for 60% of available battery electric options in China and Europe, and an even greater share in the United States, similar to the trend towards SUVs seen in internal combustion engine markets. By the way, guys, I'm skipping over quite a bit of content here. Feel free to follow along and read the entire report. There's a link in the description. I don't want this video to be 7 hours long. Just want to focus on some of the key highlights. And yes, the charts are coming, nerds, and they are beautiful. Electric car sales continue to increase, led by China. Electric car sales saw another record year in 2022 despite supply chain disruptions, macroeconomic and geopolitical uncertainty. Yes, we're kind of on the brink of World War III, and then there's the whole scamdemic-related supply chain challenges. The growth in electric car sales took place in the context of globally contracting car markets, and yes, this is actually very important. People are missing this. ICE vehicle sales are currently in freefall. This freefall will accelerate. People do not recognize this, but I am telling you now, ICE vehicle sales are collapsing in real time. Automotive manufacturers are hiding behind the excuse, oh, we still can't get the chips because of the lockdowns. Bullshit. You just can't sell the vehicles because people don't want to buy them anymore. Total car sales in 2022 dipped by 3% relative to 2021. Electric cars, god damn it, again, IEA, can you stop counting ICE vehicles with a little battery in them as electric vehicles, please? 1, they're irrelevant. 2, they're going away. And 3, like I said, just because a man wears lipstick does not make him a woman. He's still a man. He's just wearing lipstick. Just like an ICE vehicle with a little battery in it is still an ICE vehicle with a little battery in it, not a battery vehicle. Exceeded 10 million last year, up 55% relative to 2021. This figure, 10 million EV sales worldwide, exceeds the total number of cars sold across the entire European Union, about 9.5 million vehicles, and is nearly half of the total number of cars sold in China in 2022. In the course of just 5 years, from 2017 to 2022, EV sales jumped from around 1 million to more than 10 million. Consider this, a 10x in 5 years. You know what happens if there's another 10x over the next 5 years? The entire vehicle market will be fully electric. Today, light passenger vehicle sales worldwide around 70 million or so. If you count all the other stuff, including heavy duty, closer to 80 million. If you 10x 10 million, that's 100 million. You understand? It's 2023, add 5 years. If this rate of growth were to continue, just hypothetically speaking, essentially 100% of all new vehicles produced in 2028 will be electric. It previously took 5 years, from 2012 to 2017, for EV sales to grow from 100,000 to 10 million. So notice, 2 5-year periods, a track record now, and over both of those 5-year periods of time, we've seen a 10x in electric vehicle sales. Again, some plug-in hybrids are being counted, but don't worry about that. The overall trend remains clear, even if it's a little bit polluted by these fake EVs known as hybrids. The share of electric cars in total car sales jumped from 9% in 2021 to 14% in 2022, more than 10 times their share in 2017. Over 26 million electric cars were on the road in 2022, up 60% relative to 2021, and more than 5 times the stock in 2018. And now here's the caveat I promised. Roughly 70% of the quote electric vehicles accounting are actually electric vehicles, about 30% being hybrid. So you see these numbers, just shave them down by 30%. You'll be pretty close to the mark. Like I said though, hybrids are going away because they're ICE vehicles, because ICE vehicles are going away. They made sense for a very short window of time before compelling long-range electric vehicles were viable, and they now are. So like I said, hybrids are going extinct. Ignore them. And please, IEA, stop counting hybrids as electric vehicles, you DMFs. And now, dear nerds, I promised some charts. So here we are. At electric vehicle sales, and unfortunately, these are including plug-in hybrid electric vehicles. Let's see if we can toggle them off. Oh, perfect, we can. Get rid of this absolute garbage. There. That's painting an accurate picture. We're now just looking at battery electric vehicles. China blue, Europe green, United States yellow, and everywhere else orange. Now, I'm not very smart. I think this looks like exponential growth. As we can see here, does this look like a straight line? No. Exponential growth. Just want to clarify, because still today, most of the so-called experts, and I use that term as insultingly and derogatorily as possible, most of the so-called experts are extrapolating linear growth from this point forward. They're all suffering from small brain syndrome, a lack of testicles, and zero courage. The data indicates exponential, but I can't possibly believe that would happen. Therefore, I'm just going to fiddle with my numbers so that it's linear growth instead. I think what I'm trying to say is most of these experts are either brain dead and or pussies, or both. Once again, just want to take this opportunity to remind you guys that before developing my Tesla valuation model a few years ago, I spent the time considering how quickly EV adoption might take place. I modeled things out. I've got a hyper scenario and a base case scenario as well. I've not touched these predictions. And by the way, I did publish them recently to my Twitter subscribers. They're already wrong. I was actually too conservative, which is kind of funny. The crazy deluded fanboy. I was too conservative on EV adoption. Just how wrong was I? Well, this is going to be awkward, but my hyper bull case for EV adoption, which again is a few years old, so I'm going to leave my adoption estimates as is because I just want to see how wrong I was. I'll be much closer to the mark than most of the experts, but I'm not competing against them. I mean, they're potatoes. What do I gain from that? And I'm competing with myself. I just want to see how wrong was I. My few-year-old EV adoption estimates for the hyper case, this is so awkward. I had 19,131,519 electric vehicles being sold, almost the same as this number here, in 2024. Yes, I was off by about 2 years. I'm a fucking idiot. For the record, my 2023 prediction, and I believe I did these estimates back in 2020, just a little bit of context. My 2023 prediction, which we don't even have the data on, we're still in the middle of the year, was only 10.8 million electric vehicles. Guess what? This is embarrassing. That figure was exceeded in 2021. It's about 11 million there. Dumbass me had 11 million being sold over here in 2023, which isn't even on the fucking chart. So I'm an idiot. But I think I'm less of an idiot than most of the experts. And this is really important because humans just cannot intuit exponential growth. Now, you guys may be wondering, what do my projections look like in the future in the hyper case? And for that, well, you'll just have to subscribe to Twitter and check out the earlier post. But I can tell you that in my hyper case, by 2027, more than 80% of all new vehicles sold will be electric. That's the hyper case. And guess what? In my base case, which I personally believe is going to be embarrassingly conservative, given the fact that my hyper case is already off the mark, that 80% threshold is achieved around 2029. And again, I just want to put this on the record. I am not updating these predictions, but that's going to be very wrong. I think well and truly before 2029, more than 80% of all new vehicles sold will be electric. In short, I'm an idiot, but hopefully less of an idiot than the experts. If we just take a moment to use our brains a little bit here, if this exponential growth continues, there's an inverse relationship between electric vehicles being sold and ICE vehicles not being sold. Today, most of the world's largest automotive manufacturers, the legacy automotive companies, genuinely believe that the majority of their vehicles being sold in 2030 are still going to be ICE. Even the most aggressive of these companies are thinking it's about 50%. They are in for a rude, financially catastrophic awakening. Now, just want to break this down. As we can see, rest of world electric vehicle sales are a spec in 2022, just 1.1 million. United States, just 2.1 million, really lagging. Europe, 4.4 million, and China leading the way, over 10.7 million. And just to further embarrass myself, just a reminder that my 2023 hyper case for global electric vehicle sales was 10.87 million in 2023, which isn't even on the chart yet. China alone was about that number a year earlier. I love saying this. I'm an idiot. You guys get that? I'm an idiot. But at least not as dumb as the experts. And as we heard earlier, half of the world's electric car sales are in China. So China is a leading indicator of electric vehicle sales globally. Watch China to know what's happening elsewhere. And yes, we're probably going to have the exact same issue. There's going to be a temporary glut of ICE vehicles that are just absurdly cheap as automotive manufacturers panic and realize no one wants to buy them, and or governments force companies to stop producing ICE vehicles. So keep this in mind. I think this is actually likely to play out over the next couple of months, maybe even a couple of years, depending on the market. There's going to be a huge fire sale on ICE vehicles. Some consumers will be like, well, I was going to buy an electric vehicle, but I can buy this ICE vehicle for like half the price it was a year ago. I might just buy that instead. It's so cheap I can't not. This will, of course, cause widespread panic among people who suffer from SBS. Oh my God, I thought EV growth was going, what do I do? Just flagging that now. There's going to be a lot of panic. And I, for one, can't wait to clean up with the mop and bucket and buy discounted shares from people that shouldn't have owned stocks in the first place. Now, we've got another chart here. I've just toggled off the men wearing lipstick. They don't count. Sorry. We're just looking at pure battery electric vehicle sales here. This, new electric car registrations in China from 2020 to 2023. Again, do you notice a trend? Yes, the trend is up. You might also notice some seasonality. Notice this. January, February, early into the new year, we typically have lower numbers of vehicles being sold, electric or otherwise, than we do toward the end of the year. Does this pattern repeat itself? Why, yes, it does. End of the year, December here, big decline January and February before bouncing back. Of course, there were some scamdemic related lockdowns and so on as well. But again, the trend continues here end of last year, near record electric vehicle sales, then a big drop off in January and February. Something that many of the Tesla bears and emotionally unintelligent Tesla stock investors seem to forget.
Oh, Tesla sales are collapsing in China. Oh my god, what's going on? There's no demand. That is
Hello. So it happens every year. Just flagging that again. I don't know. People just don't pay attention to things. Now a few more charts. Just got to turn off plug-in hybrids again. At least they allow us to toggle. I do appreciate that, IEA. Let's have a closer look. So just to orient everyone around this, we're looking at electric car registrations in millions on the left and percentage of all vehicles sold on the right. And again, I've toggled off the hybrids. This is just pure electric vehicles. On the left here, we've got the world, then China, then Europe, then the US. In each of these markets, we see a trend up. China in particular leading the way, but the same trend is playing out everywhere. 2018, 19, 2020, 21, and 22, without meaningful exception. Year-over-year growth in electric vehicle sales. Now, the limiting factor here, believe it or not, is not demand, it's supply, production. Make more electric vehicles and people will buy more electric vehicles. It's that simple. We can also see how far behind the United States is lagging, for example, China. So look to the more mature electric vehicle markets for a clue as to what the future of, say, the less mature electric vehicle markets are going to look like. More than 20% of all new vehicles sold in China in 2022, electric. Expect to see growth even with a glut of very cheap ICE vehicles flooding the market in China in 2023. So we can look to examples like Europe and the United States' less mature EV markets. Doesn't look like a lot's happening there, but they're all going to follow the same trend as China. Look to China as an example of what's going to happen in Europe and the United States a few years later. For context, in 2022, electric vehicle sales in Europe under 10%. Wouldn't be surprised if in 2023, Europe reaches the same percentage adoption as China did in 2021. The United States even further behind. And if you read between the lines here, it would probably be a good idea for companies who really want to see strong growth in their electric vehicle sales, in particular, to be building production capacity aggressively in both Europe and China as I record this, because those markets are currently growing ridiculously fast from a low base. Make the electric vehicles and they will sell. This chart is called "The Trend is Your Friend." Not actually. It's actually called Electric Car Registrations and Sales Share in Selected European Countries from 2018 to 2022. Really just want to focus once again on the trend. Does anyone notice a trend? Yes, it's called up. Very up. Isn't this interesting? Almost 50% of all new vehicles sold in Germany in 2022 were fully electric. I'll tell you what, I'd love to be a company with a factory that's already half ramped up, producing pure battery electric vehicles in Germany. That'd be a really good 400 IQ move. Unfortunately, there's no such companies like that. No one had the foresight to realize there was an opportunity there, and therefore there are no companies who've already constructed and are currently ramping up in Germany. Shame. What a missed opportunity. And again, to those of you with a broken sarcasm detector, that was sarcasm. Tesla, Giga Berlin, exactly. Another chart, this time electric car registrations and sales in selected countries from 2018 to 2022, not just in Europe. We can see once again the United Kingdom leading the charge. That was so funny. But seriously, France coming in close second. We're seeing an absolute explosion in Korea. So too, Japan, from a very low base. And again, the trend is quite clear. Up, 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 and up. One more chart, this time, monthly new electric car registrations in the United States from 2020 to 2023. Again, I've toggled off the men with lipstick. Notice a trend. And again, I just want to illustrate this point for the dimwits who panic every time. Electric vehicle sales in December in 2020. Huge decline in January and February the next year. Does this pattern repeat itself? Well, let's see here. December. Record electric vehicles delivered. Then a huge decline in January and February. Surprise to fucking prize. Does it happen again? It sure does. December 2022. Record electric vehicles. Then a decline in January, February, and March. Every goddamn year. It's the same story.
Tesla vehicle registrations collapse. Tesla sales collapse. Electric vehicle sales collapse. There's no demand.
Etc. Sorry to bang the drum, but it needs to be said. A few more charts. I've just got to toggle off the men with lipstick again. And there we go. Look at electric car sales by powertrain and available models by car size in selected countries. Again, the main thing to focus on here is the trend. Clearly, up. In India, Thailand, Indonesia, up, up, up. Africa, Asia, Central Europe, Latin America. We could keep going. Trend clearly up. We're now looking at electric light commercial vehicle sales and sales share. Again, very clear trend, up. And not in a linear fashion, but an exponential fashion. Now, trends in batteries. Automotive lithium-ion battery demand increased about 65% in 2022, primarily as a result of growth in electric passenger car sales. The charts really speak volumes, don't they? Battery demand clearly growing exponentially. I wonder why that would be. In unrelated matters, I tell you what, if we had known ahead of time that there'd be huge growth in battery demand as well, wouldn't it have been a great idea, let's say almost a decade ago, to start building a factory to produce batteries, and then a few years after that, maybe invent a new battery form factor and then start producing those batteries yourself at each of your automotive plants? Wouldn't that be a good idea? Shame no one thought to do that. Would have bought their stock if they had. And now a little bit of fun. The price of selected battery materials and lithium-ion batteries from 2015 to 2023. Orange dots here are the actual battery costs. Notice the declining cost curve. Quite clear here. Cost plummeting. But there is variation within each of the individual materials. For example, lithium carbonate price going to the fucking moon between 2021 and 2023, but starting to come back down to reality. All other materials, quite a bit of volatility in their prices as well. We can see swings of more than 100%, for example, on the price of cobalt. Nickel trending up. Copper trending up just a little bit. Manganese not really doing a whole lot. Given the fact that the price of lithium carbonate can be quite volatile and is currently at the moon, you know what would be a 420 IQ move? Getting into the lithium refining business if you're a company that would need lots of batteries that contain lithium. You know what else would be a 200 IQ move? Completely removing cobalt, nickel, copper, and manganese from as many of your batteries as you possibly can. Shame no one thought to do that either. There's an entire section on policy development as well. I vehemently oppose governments telling companies what the fuck to do, especially when it comes to electric vehicles, internal combustion engine. Why? EVs are a commercial inevitability. Governments can stay the fuck out of it. Like I said, as a Tesla stock investor, I'll take the incentives, but they are entirely unnecessary and a poor use of resources. Again, EVs are now a commercial inevitability. You do not need to incentivize consumers to buy them or to incentivize companies to stop making ICE vehicles, because both of these things will happen regardless. EVs are today at price parity. Costs are still declining. A few years from now, they'll be way cheaper and way better than ICE vehicles, so consumers who don't have brain damage aren't going to be buying ICE vehicles. Makes sense, right? And the companies who still plan on producing ICE vehicles past the dates that they're supposedly banned won't be in business. So there's no need to tell them stop making ICE vehicles after 2030 or 2035, because if they're still trying and intending to make ICE vehicles beyond that point, they are absolutely going to be bankrupt before then anyway. People get mad about this, but it really bothers me when governments piss away money unnecessarily on things that they just don't need to be spending money on. We're now onto corporate strategy. Quote, voluntary announcements of EV targets have become increasingly common across the automotive industry. It's every time these companies announce their targets, I just shake my head. They're so far off the mark to the downside. Anyway, let's have a look at these. This will be hilarious. Are you ready? Automakers' electrification targets since 2022. Automaker Ford targeting a whopping 600,000 battery electric vehicle sales by 2026 in Europe. Government Motors, you did it, Mary. You misled, and it matters. 400,000 EV sales from 2022 to 2024 in North America. 1 million EV production capacity in 2025 in North America. Volkswagen targets fully electric production by 2033, which has been recently brought forward by 2 years. It was previously 2035. And again, remember what I just said about companies thinking they'll still be making ICE vehicles after 2030? Yeah, not going to age well, Volkswagen, you idiots. I just cannot wait to dig these videos up in a few years' time, bro. You have no idea. VW today still think 10 entire years from now, they're going to be making ICE vehicles. How high are they? Toyota. Oh, how the mighty fall. 1.5 million electric vehicle sales by 2026. 2026 rings a bell because it wasn't that long ago I was pointing out that I personally think that's probably around the 80% of all new vehicles sold being electric. Now, for those who don't know, Toyota today sells around 10 million vehicles per year. If in 2026 they're intending on selling just 1.5 million electric vehicles, and if I'm right, and that's about 80% of all new vehicles being sold, it seems as though Toyota intends on selling less than 2 million total vehicles by 2026, down from around 10 million today. Can you smell that? It smells like bankruptcy. Mazda expects at least... Oh shit, I gotta be careful drinking my athletic greens while I read these. I'm gonna spit it all over my computer. Mazda expects at least 25% of sales globally to be battery electric vehicles in 2030. Morons. By the way, it will be more than 25% if they're actually still selling vehicles at that point in time. Honda aims to launch, who cares about the number of models, with production volume of more than 2 million units annually by 2030. So for context, that's about half of their vehicles. Honda sells a little over 4 million vehicles per year. These clowns are thinking that half their vehicles in 2030 are still going to be ICE. Smells like bankruptcy. Nissan looking for 44% of EV sales by 2026. That's actually reasonable, but this is where it gets very embarrassing. 44%, I mean, they're still really far behind the 8 ball. It should be about double that, but here's where it really goes off the rails. They're only expecting 55% EV sales by 2030. Nissan clearly do not know what exponential growth looks like. Once again, smells like bankruptcy. Mitsubishi 100% EV sales by 2035, and 50% by 2030. Once again, they're fucked. And I cannot believe in 2023, these idiots what planet are they on? I just don't even know. The brain damage is just palpable. Porsche, stunningly, 80% of sales to be electric by 2030. Probably the most aggressive target of any of these companies. They're still off the mark to the downside as well. But hey, at least they're trying. And spoiler alert, you know why they'd want 80% of these sales to be electric by 2030? I personally believe it's for performance-related reasons. An ICE engine can't compete with a great electric motor. Porsche, known for performance and also compensating for micro penises and vertically challenged men. And sometimes people just like their cars too. But many of the people buying a Porsche are doing so to compensate for things. Therefore, it needs to go fast. Therefore, Porsche, hey, even if it's not for the right reasons necessarily, they got some of the more aggressive and slightly realistic goals. BMW, playing some tricks here. Cumulative sales of over 2 million EVs. Who cares about cumulative sales? Oh shit, dude. EV sales of 30% by 2025 and 50% by 2030. Now, are you guys noticing a trend here?
Everyone else is saying 50% by 2030. Let's just copy them. We don't need to think for ourselves. Yeah, let's 50% by 2030. Sounds good, right?
All of them idiots. Mini and Rolls-Royce, 100% by 2030. Good job. Lancia, never even heard of them. Hope I said it right. All new models from 2026 to be electric and to sell 100% electric vehicles by 2028. A little bit more aggressive. Jaguar, all electric by 2025. Round of applause. Seriously. Meanwhile, what the actual fuck are Land Rover thinking? Aims to go all electric by 2036, aka aims to go bankrupt by 2026. Wow, dude. I just can't believe this. Seriously. BYD has ceased ICE vehicle production. Has produced only EVs since March 2022. Geely, 600,000 EV sales over 2023. SAIC GM Wuling, as in the makers of the Wuling Mini Death Machine on wheels. Annual sales of 1 million, what is this, NEVs, by 2023. Okay, whatever. 40% battery electric vehicles in 2025. BAIC Group, 1/3 of their vehicle sales being electric in 2025. And FAW Group aiming for 50% EVs by 2025 and mostly all electric vehicles by 2030. As you can see, ladies and gentlemen, most of the companies currently on this list will not be in business by 2030. You'll put a pin in that, set a reminder, I'll be here, and I can't wait to cash in these fucking receipts. Absolute clown show. I mean, I really just don't know how else to say it. The level of potato, the incompetence, the blindness, the ignorance of these companies, any of them to think that any consumers with half a brain are going to want to buy an ICE vehicle beyond about mid-decade. Like I said, EVs are a commercial inevitability. The prices are not going to stay static. They're coming down overall. They'll continue to come down. They're going to be much better value for consumers to buy than an ICE vehicle. They're already at price parity. Consumers will literally need to have rocks in their head to be buying ICE vehicles beyond mid-decade. In truth, consumers need to have rocks in their heads today if they've actually done the cost of ownership and they're not talking at the absolute low-end, extremely economical vehicles. A couple of very important key takeaways from today's video. EV adoption is happening, and it's happening faster than anyone, including me. Yes, me. Expected. Humans are just really fucking bad at understanding exponential growth, even those of us who've tried our best. The fact that today, as we just saw, most legacy automotive manufacturers are still expecting to be selling any ICE vehicles beyond the later part of this decade just blows my mind. The level of potato is unfathomable. Yet here we are, it's 2023, getting close to mid-year, and most of the world's largest automotive manufacturers today are still loudly and proudly announcing to the world their intent, their maniacal focus on doing everything possible to go bankrupt before 2030. I don't know how to get through to these folks. I don't think I ever will. The legacy automotive industry is about to get blockbusted or Kodaked. Pick your example. And they don't even see it coming. I've noticed of late fear-induced brain damage sweeping throughout many who currently own Tesla stock. Now, I'm not here to tell you what to do or what to think, but I am here to tell you what I think. And what I think is many folks now are suffering from fear-induced brain damage. Their emotions are clouding their judgment. They're unwilling to look at the data. They can't extrapolate. They have no conception of exponential growth. They don't understand the unit economics. They do not understand the commercial inevitability of EVs. In short, they're panicking. And should any of you be currently panic selling Tesla stock, I'll be happy to buy your shares, but just one caveat, you ain't getting them back, so only part with shares that you won't regret not owning in the future. I'm still buying with every spare cent. I believe we are approaching peak fear-induced brain damage among Tesla stock investors, and I, for one, love it. I'm not going to lie. I'm on the other end of a lot of these trades. While people are panic selling, I'm still buying with every spare cent. It stuns me, with all of the available information in 2023, that there are still people that just don't get it. Emotions are one hell of a drug, and they most certainly have absolutely no place when it comes to investing, lest you make idiotic, potentially financially catastrophic decisions. It's a perfect segue to once again promote today's exclusive Twitter video. If you're not a subscriber on Twitter, you're definitely missing out. And remember, I also posted a near 40-minute reaction video to Elon Musk's interview with Bill Maher recently. Big trigger alert on that. If you're a snowflake, you will absolutely melt. Your butt might hurt. You'll probably get offended. If you think you can handle it, check the links in the pinned comment, join Twitter and Patreon, and I'll see you over there. It's about time you tried Athletic Greens AG1. I've been taking this stuff for more than 2 years, feel amazing, massive boost in energy, lots of other perks as well, but the biggest one, of course, for me, more energy throughout the day, no more afternoon fatigue, I just feel better overall. It's not surprising, given my body what it needs to feel and perform its best, it helps me to feel and perform my best. Athletic Greens AG1 is packed full of 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, and whole food source nutrients, plus prebiotics and probiotics and adaptogens and digestive enzymes. And when I say packed full of, I really mean it. Where do we even begin? Vitamin A, C, E, riboflavin, niacin, vitamin B6, folate, vitamin B12, biotin, calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, zinc, manganese, copper, sodium. I could keep going on, literally. Of course, if I did that, this video would be about 400 years long. When I say packed full of, I mean packed full of. Now, there are some Einsteins who like to explain in the comments every time I promote Athletic Greens AG1,
Bro, you can just get all the stuff you need in a diet. Just eat it. You can get everything you need from a balanced diet.
These people, unfortunately, are demonstrating what we call the Dunning-Kruger effect. It's true, you get enough to survive from your diet, but if you want to thrive and optimize your health, bro, you ain't getting this in a diet unless you're eating about 400 tons of food every day, which isn't a sustainable strategy. Plus, if you head to athleticgreens.com/SMR or click the link in the pinned comment, get a 1-year free supply of vitamin D3 and K2, and you'll be well on your way to feeling and performing your best. Try it for a month. See how you feel. If you don't get the results you're looking for, get your money back. That's why there's a money back guarantee. AG1 boosts energy, supports immunity, helps with recovery. Almost everyone who tries it feels better. So what are you waiting for? Click the link in the pinned comment or head to athleticgreens.com/SMR. Start your daily health habit now and let me know how you're feeling in a few weeks' time. And don't forget, I'm still posting loads of exclusive content available only on Patreon, and also posting exclusive content you'll only find on Twitter if you're a subscriber. And that includes 2 exclusive videos I've posted today, one for my Twitter subscribers and another over on Patreon that clocks in at almost 40 minutes. But, trigger alert, you watch the Patreon video, you're probably going to get mad, so no snowflakes and you may have a sore butt after watching said video. Don't say I didn't warn you. If you think you can handle it, click the links in the pinned comment, head over to Twitter and Patreon, and I'll see you over there. Love ya.